A range of musical notes sufficient for the objectives of this channel is shown on the screen. Being able to quickly locate musical notes on the staff is an essential skill for rapid progress in music studies. You'll need it in upcoming theory videos dedicated to the elaboration of scales, and in later ones. This video presents a method to achieve this skill. As you progress in memorizing the location of these notes, you should return to this figure to reinforce what you have learned, and try to memorize a greater number of notes. The display shows the positions occupied by the notes on the previous screen. You will be asked to identify 3 notes that occupy the positions indicated by a question mark, and you will be given enough time to do so. If you have difficulty getting it, this video will help you to improve. It also presents other details that will be useful in the study of the harmonization of scales, so we recommend that you study it carefully. For those who begin their musical studies, the task of memorizing the positions of the notes in the long string of notes presented at the beginning of this video can be a bit intimidating. However, we will try to honor Plato's thought that music is the essence of order, which we use as the motto of this channel, to provide a method to facilitate this task. To do this, we will divide the range of notes considered into 3 groups: the notes that occupy positions on the staff lines and in the spaces between these lines, the low notes that occupy the positions below these lines, and the high notes that occupy the positions above these lines. We will start with those corresponding to the staff shown on the screen. The first thing we will do is to locate the notes corresponding to the lines of the staff. This makes sense because they correspond to intervals of third, which were used to generate the C major scale in the previous theory video. The names of these first 5 notes are shown to the right of the staff. This sequence should be memorized, as it will be used frequently in the future. To do this, you should repeat it many times, preferably aloud. E, G, B, D, F, E, G, B, D, F, E, G, B, D, F. Next, we will place the notes in the spaces between the lines of the staff. The names of these notes have been placed together with those of the first 5 notes to complete a group of 9 to the right of the staff. This sequence should also be memorized, since it will also be used frequently in the future. F, A, C, E. F, A, C, E, face. Below the staff, the sequence composed by the 2 previous sequences has been placed, which should also be memorized, since it will facilitate the identification and placement of notes over several octaves. In the figure, the notes E4 and F5 have been highlighted since they constitute the extremes of the region considered and start sequences of the defined type. The notes F4 and E5 have not been highlighted so as not to overload the diagram, and besides they are easily located because they are contiguous to the highlighted ones, but they are equally important. Thus, E5 starts a new sequence E, G, B, D, F, immediately above the region considered. Initially, you may have difficulty remembering the proposed sequences. In such a case, the sentences shown to the right of the group of sequences may be helpful. But it's very common to use the word face instead of the second sentence. The sequence of these sentences is shown below the horizontal sequence of notes. Every good boy does fine, following always correct endeavors. To identify notes on the staff, you can proceed as follows. If it is a note located on a line, go down to the reference note E4 and then go up 2 by 2 while reciting the sequence E, G, B, until you reach the indicated position. If it is a note located in the space between two lines, go down to the reference note F4 and then go up 2 by 2 while reciting the sequence F, A, C until you reach the indicated position. As you memorize the notes of this group, the less you will need to use this resource. Two examples are given next. F, A, E, G, B, D. To reinforce what was studied in the previous section of this video, you will be asked to identify each of the notes corresponding to the positions that will be marked with a question mark in the diagram shown in the figure. As you repeat this exercise, you will memorize the location of certain notes, and less you will need the application of the method proposed for this group. Repeat it as many times as necessary to locate them all by heart and almost instantly. Let us now consider the groups of notes located below the staff and above the staff. These two groups are shown on the far right. Notice that these groups have exactly the same conformation, a sequence E, G, B, D, F, between the lines, and another sequence F, A, C, E above the lines. This conformation differs from that of the group corresponding to the staff, identified in gray, in which the sequence E, G, B, D, F on the lines and the sequence F, A, C, E is between the lines. In any case, it is concluded that these groups of notes are repeated every 2 octaves, and that what has been studied here is valid for wider ranges of notes, of several octaves. A general method to identify the note located in a certain position would be the generalization of the one proposed in the previous section, corresponding to the notes on the staff. Given the position of the note to be identified, go down to the reference note, E or F, immediately preceding and occupying the same position with respect to the lines, above or between, then go up 2 by 2 reciting the sequence corresponding to the reference note, E, G, B, or F, A, C, until reaching the position of the note to be identified. Next are 2 examples of the process of locating notes in the lower section. E, G, B, F, A. To reinforce what you have studied in the previous 2 sections, you will next be asked to identify each of the notes and the positions that will be marked with a question mark in the lower group of notes. As you repeat this exercise, you will memorize the location of certain notes, and you will need to apply the method proposed for this group less and less. Repeat it as many times as necessary to locate them all from memory and almost instantly. Next are two examples of the process of locating notes in the upper section. F A E G B D. To reinforce what was studied in the previous section of this video, you will next be asked to identify each of the notes in the positions that will be marked with a question mark in the upper group of notes. The following are some final considerations. The range of notes considered in this video extends beyond that necessary for the instruments chosen to play the melodies in this channel, the ukulele and the Venezuelan cuatro, and covers the range of notes of a standard 12-fret guitar. Although in the examples of the application of the proposed method for the identification of the notes over this range the octaves have not been pronounced, this detail will be important later when we deal with the location of notes of the staff on the fretboard of the ukulele and the Venezuelan cuatro, or vice versa, location on the staff of notes produced on the fretboard of these instruments. If we add in a single sequence the two sequences of notes considered in the process for identifying the note located in a certain position, we double the result, and finally we eliminate the contiguous repetitions, we obtain the sequence EGBD, FAC, EGBD, FAC, E, which allows you to easily determine the chords in the major key of C. Two examples are shown below. In the first, the notes of the D minor chord are framed in a box, and in the second, the notes of the G major chord are framed. The same will apply to other keys, but, as we will see in the next video, some of these notes may appear altered, so we will first study the generation of scales other than the C major scale. A detail: together the notes of the sequence EGBDF and those of the sequence FACE constitute chords. The first has 5 notes, so it cannot be implemented on the ukulele, nor on the cuatro. The second constitutes the F major 7th chord and can be implemented on the ukulele and on the cuatro. In future videos, we will study chord generation in detail. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you find it very useful.